phone number, and when you purchase $400 in groceries, you get yourself a free turkey. Town and Country Foods of Dillon. Dream Motors in Dillon at 445 North Montana Street. We're having a make and offer sale. Come on down, look at our large selection of inventory, find a vehicle you like, make us a reasonable offer, and we may just accept it. That's Dream Motors in Dillon, Montana.
And tract of land.
Move to accept.
Second.
It's been moved by Dawn, seconded by Diane to accept the minutes.
Seeing no objection, I'll call for the question.
Questions called for to accept the minutes of the October 19th public hearing meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same sign. Those minutes passed unanimously. Second, approval of the October 19th, 2022 public hearing minutes for Blacktail Solar Home Subdivision.
Move to accept. Second.
Been moved by Dawn, seconded by Dan.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to accept the minutes of the October 19th, 2022 meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same sign. Those minutes are accepted unanimously. Next one, approval of the October 19th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Move to accept.
Second.
It's been moved by Dawn, seconded by Diane.
I'd like to make a note of change that I had Lori excused when I first started the minutes, but she did show up in time for her presentation. So she needs to be changed to staff present.
Lori showed up late. She had her as an excused.
Call for the question.
No, not yet. Sorry. Under number 5, Director of Operations, Todd Hazelbaker. On the first line, Mr. Hazelbaker started his report by I think there's some verbiage missing in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now the end.
That's it?
Yeah.
I'm disappointed if you're not.
I know.
Call for the question.
Question's been called. All in favor of accepting the minutes of October 19th regular meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Minutes accepted unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, at this time, to request the council provide a moment of silence for Mr. Gary, who's passed away. He won't be with us anymore. He's been one of the library board members and was a member of this council as well. And very well received.
Okay, call for a moment of silence. Okay, we all want to thank John Gary for all the service he gave to the town of Dillon. Okay, on with the meeting. Mayor's report. First item, discuss, recommend the lease agreement with real property and the right to first option to purchase.
Move to approve?
Second.
It's been moved by Dan, seconded by Diane. Questions, comment from the council?
Mr. Mayor, I have a copy of the original draft right here and a copy of this draft. And I wanted to commend our new city attorney for his additions to the lease draft. He, among other things, he really cleared up the language. There were several places where it got very muddled, and he really cleaned that up. Very specifically, he changed the term of the lease from 10 years to a much more reasonable 3 years. He added a rental fee of $10 per year. He added language which notifies the lessee that any additional building would have to adhere to existing setbacks and other legal requirements. And he also inserted language stating that the lease could be terminated if 60 days written notice was given by either the lessor or the lessee. And I wanted to commend him on those additions. I thought it was a significant improvement. I guess I had a couple of other questions, and I do have these written out in case we need to change some language. Number 2 of our lease, under terms of the lease, calls for an automatic renewal. Automatic renewal sets up a system where it just automatically renews and automatically renews. And in 5 and 10 years, we're not around. And it sets up a system by which we could forget about an asset that is owned by the city. So when that kind of thing happens, what happens is both the lessor and the lessee end up in a legal battle. And it just costs a lot of money for both parties. And we don't have to make that mistake. We just remove the language that talks about automatic renewal. We can put in something that says the lessee may renew the lease by providing written notification of this request 90 days before the termination of the lease. It puts all of the onus on the lessee, and it also brings it back before the city council every 3 years. And that's appropriate for us to keep tabs on city assets every 3 years. I really think that oversight by the city council is important. I guess I'm even wondering, and I asked some people at the League of Cities and Towns meeting if it was, they brought up the idea that they're not sure, there's a couple parts in Montana law, we're not sure that you can even legally have a automatic renewal where that sets up an indefinite lease. So we should look at that. Number 8 talks about that with written, I'm going to pull up number 8. In the event that either party wishes to terminate the lease with 60 days written notice, that can be done. The only thing I would add to that particular one would be something about that, you know, you can terminate the lease for any reason. You know, when you leave it this open, I worry about the fact that that gives an opening for us to fight about it in court. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to get ourselves or the city in that kind of a situation. In number 11, we are allowing for the lease to be inherited by heirs. I think whenever we have a lease agreement, and if the ownership of the land in question changes ownership, if the owner changes, then we should renegotiate the lease. We don't want this to transfer from the Smiths to the Joneses to the Johnstons. You know, I mean, it could get really muddled. I think that idea of an inheritable lease is maybe something we should look at. Number 12 is probably the part that gives me the greatest headache. And number 12, we are giving an option to purchase. And I understand the Hagenbars wish to, if the city decides to sell this, they would like to be first in line, and rightly so, they probably should be first in line. But what I would change all that, and because when you give an option to purchase, you are limiting the city. All the limits go to the city, and it excludes any future value of the land. If you change all this, take this language out, and do a right of first refusal, then you are giving you're giving back the power to set the price for the land to the city. And we should take out all this stuff about appraisals and all this stuff. We should just let the market set the price. Whatever the market is at that point in time. If we have, I'm not going to speculate on what could happen, but there's all different scenarios that can happen. But what we want to do is make sure that the city has the ability to set the price for the land. And you do that by doing a right of first refusal. So if the city says we'd like to sell it for $10,000, the Hagenbars have the first right to say, great, we're going to buy it. If they don't want to buy it, that's fine. Then the city can go forth and find other buyers. If they don't find a buyer, and the city needs to bring down the price to $8,000, then the Hagenbars can have the right of first refusal. But it gives back the idea of the city's, it's the city's land, and we need to take, as stewards of that asset, we need to keep the ability to set the price in the city's hands. My last issue, and this is a little thing from our former city attorney, and kind of Mr. Hazelbaker helped me with this. The city leases, presently, the city leases parkland property to nonprofit tax-exempt organizations, such as Beaverhead Little League and the Dillon Cubs. When we do that, in our contract with those organizations, we require them to provide a certificate of liability insurance. So I have included in my little spiel here the language that Jim gave us and that is included in both the contract with Beaverhead Little League and with Dillon Cubs. And it talks about in accordance with Montana State Statute Section 2-9-108 MCA, with minimum limits in the amount of $750,000 for each claim and $1.5 million for each occurrence. The certificate of insurance shall also provide that the insurance coverage shall not be amended, altered, canceled, or reduced without providing at least 10 days advance written notice to both the insured as well as the city of Dillon. So I think that that should be under indemnification. We should add that one. And I think indemnification was in
Number 9.
number 9. Okay. I should have put that down. So those are my, I think the draft has significantly improved, but I still think we have a little ways to go on it.
All right, a couple things there, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Anytime we abandon a street, the adjacent landowners have first right of refusal. I don't care what you say in this, it goes to the adjacent landowners. In this case, it happens to be Mr. Hagenbarth on both sides. So the idea of giving a first right of refusal is of no value. It just muddles the contract up. So I would suggest we not do that, and if we want to change the language around a little bit, Sky can probably do that pretty handy. I agree with your number 2, that the lease will automatically renew. It probably shouldn't. That's 2, we should come back and renegotiate this every 3 years. Like you said, just for continuity, so everybody remembers where things are at. I agree with that, I have to admit. Otherwise, that's going to rather forcefully encourage us to pick one entity in the city to be responsible for this. In other words, they keep track of it when it comes up, and they make sure the council knows about it. Otherwise, it gets lost back there in the vault, and nobody remembers except for maybe Mr. and Mrs. Hagenbarth, when they bring in their 3-year fee, whatever that is.
And possibly, Mr. Hand, that's the best way of doing it, because these seats will all change.
That's why we went
And so-
3 years.
Right, and so to put the onus on renewing the lease agreement, you put the onus on the lessee, not on the lessor.
Correct.
You have to give notice before you terminate the lease. So actually, it's the law. If you have a good paying tenant, it's in your best interest. Like if you have a year-long lease, then it transfers to maybe month to monthly. You still have to give them an invoice and a notice that you're terminating the lease. So you can't put it on the leasee. It's the leaseor's obligation.
It depends if the lease contract sunsets or
It's the
not.
leaseor's obligation. You can't terminate a contract without both parties being.
That's true, unless it sunsets.
I wasn't talking about termination of any contract. What I was talking about was the renewal of the lease. That the onus would be on the lessor or lessee to write to the city 90 days before the completion of the lease and say they'd like to renew the lease with the same or similar terms, and then it come before the city council and the city council approve it. I wanted to make it very simple, because I'm afraid it will get lost if we have the city council or the city be in charge of that.
Scott, did I say anything that wasn't correct?
Not to my knowledge. And I like to refer to Montana as a freedom of contract state. If we want to put the onus on the lessee to renew every year, that's something that we can put in writing and put in this contract. If we want it to be, and just to correct one little small term, to have a renewable lease that automatically renews after 3 years doesn't make it indefinite. So not definite would be the term indefinite. And it is definite, it is defined as a 3-year term. It would just automatically renew. And like Mr. Winland said, if you've got a good tenant, it behooves you to have those things renewed. I think that the city is protected against that with the 60-day right of termination. If this thing does get lost in the vault, right, long after I'm gone Doc's sitting in, well, hopefully he doesn't become an attorney, hopefully he's not sitting in the seat. But long after we're gone, you know, this is a lease that if somebody's looking at that piece of property and they see that lease, they'll be able to say, oh, okay, you know, it has been renewed, and if the Hagenbarths or the subsequent tenant for that piece of property continues to pay those fees, great. But I just want to you know, defend that, you know, and I don't have any skin in the game. I don't own that piece of property. I barely know Mr. Hagenbarth. If you guys want to change this thing, go right ahead. I've just hired to draft the thing and let you guys hash out the details. But I think that as far as number 2 goes, to have that renew automatically, there are some safeguards, specifically with the 60-day right of termination, to keep it from getting out of hand and going on and on and on. Now, if you had something, you know, in the oil and gas world, the leases continue for as long as there's production, and so, you know, typically. And so as long as there's oil coming out of the ground, that lease continues, no matter how much you hate the oil company that maybe you lease your minerals to. And so it's like I said, there are some safeguards on that, but you know, I mean, like I said, I'm not rooting one way or the other. My job is just to put ink on paper for this deal.
Should we add in there on the 60 days written notice that there is no, can be for any reason whatsoever?
Absolutely, yeah.
Should that be a little safer?
That's certainly something we can add.
So that, what you're talking about is the number 8. So, I guess, too, let me see. Well, I hope that our city attorney will go back and look at automatic renewals, because I think there were a couple of things that people at the conference thought that maybe we should check on. One of the things we talk about is having a good tenant, and the city attorney and I have talked about this, you know, that we will not have any liability on this property. The Hagenbarths have mowed the lawn and kept the weeds down, and that's very nice. And then they will pay $10 per year. I guess I would like to see a more reasonable amount. What happened with this property, I'm sure we all know the history, that there was a trail that was going to be put in along Nelson Street, a trail for walkers, bikers, and runners that was going to be put in that would increase the opportunities for outdoor recreational and educational purposes for the people of Dillon. That's no longer available. So a more reasonable, since we've taken that off the table, we've taken that completely off the table, what we need to do is say, okay, so from this land, we are going to leverage this land and maybe charge $1,000 or $2,000 per year and designate that money to go to the parks to upgrade the recreational opportunities in the present parks. So that concludes mine. But I think that I think that whole idea of the first option to purchase, Don, that takes the ability of the city to be able to set the price for the land.
The price is set by the appraisals, yes.
And the appraisals can be, that's kind of a, we know that doesn't work very well.
That's the law.
Yeah, I mean, again, with freedom of contract, we can customize this thing anything we want to. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think your concern is that appraisals will come in here, and it limits the city from being able to say, we want to sell it here. Is that, or at a higher price for minutes purposes?
What I can see happening is that residential development in Dillon is going to be on the southeast end of Dillon. And at some point, we need another road that goes from the south end of Dillon to the north end of Dillon, so we can get people to and from the hospital, the university, the Forest Service, all those entities that are down at the south end of Dillon. And I can see a developer coming in here and saying, I would like to buy that right of way because I'm going to put in, you know, I'd like to put in a road so I can get people from the north end to the south end of Dillon. And I'm willing to pay for that right of way, say $30,000. If we do the way it's written now, we can go out and get appraisals and it comes out to $4,000 or $5,000. And yet here we have a developer who's willing to pay much more than that. And so we're not letting the market set the price. We're letting the appraisers set the price. And the way, and we all know appraisals are done by sales that are done, that have been done in the neighborhood. This is a pretty unusual piece of property. And so there's not going to be comparable sales. It would be pretty hard to, it would be more logical to let the market set the price rather than an appraisal set the price.
Well, the appraisal is just a summary of the sales and requested prices. There's two parts to it. Now, if a piece of property won't appraise, the bank won't finance. So that's another thing you have to be a little concerned with. You ask $30,000 for something that appraises $4,000, the other $26,000 you got to take out of your pocket. And then a lot of times that tips the project upside down because all of a sudden your cash flow is negative. So that doesn't work. So the appraisal is actually the fair way to figure out what it's worth. This way they're having two different appraisers, and the two appraisers pick a third one. I hadn't heard of that being done that way before. Did you, Russ?
No.
And basically for a very nice house lot. That's what it is right now. They've done an excellent job turning it into a very prime spot. I have to commend you on that. It's very lovely. So I don't know if that's quite so much to worry about, but we still can't sell it to the developer until we sell it to these folks.
Until we give them the first right of refusal. I agree, yeah.
And that's in the law anyway. But you can't hedge their $300,000 or their $30,000 price against a $10,000 piece of ground. And squeeze these guys' arms to say you gotta buy it at that. They'll say, no, the appraisal says this, we're paying this. And that would be the state law you'd have to follow.
I'm a market person, and I would rather let the market set the price than an appraiser.
Once again, the appraisals are based off the market prices.
Even when you donate, we donated one.
Derek, could you use the mic? State your name so for.
Are we,
Eric Lundman, 730 Road.
You're gonna have to turn it on.
Yeah.
So many demands.
Even when you donate, so we donated over an acre at Fish Wildlife Parks, okay? The state actually had to have the property appraised and assessed to determine that it was in the benefit of the state. So there's actually a whole section of law that outlines that the state can't sell anything that's not beneficial. So it's obligated to be appraised. So an official appraisal would determine the value of that. I'm pretty positive. Because even when you give land to the state, it has to be appraised, the fair market value has to be determined, it has to be determined it's in the best interest of the government to receive or transact. And then if I could say, I would like the city attorney to possibly explain errors and succession, so that you can understand that errors in succession would be a benefit as a leasing if something were to happen to either party, if it heirs and successions, it benefits the city and what you see as well. So,
Yeah,
We understand that.
okay.
that was one of the points.
And I'll comment on leases. Unfortunately, I think our highest lease out there is $25, if I'm wrong, and that is the Humane Society. That's twice the acreage, at least, and that is only $25, folks. And I think that was actually reduced. So it's like 10 or 15. So I mean, we're within ballpark of our current existing leases, official leases.
Yeah, the price.
Realize the Little League and all that is not a lease. And I draw a blank on terms tonight. It's the one that starts with the M.
Memorandum of understanding.
Memorandum of
That's what they are.
understanding.
They're not leases, folks. They're those. So please keep boats separate.
The $10 a year is just basically nominal consideration. I think the Hagenbars are gonna be putting much more than that into the property as part of the consideration, but again, like I said, this is up to you guys. Y'all don't have to sell me on anything, you just tell me to jump and I'll jump.
I don't have a problem with the $10 a year. I am a little uncomfortable about the appraisals. I just remember the last appraisal we got on a piece of ground, it ain't worth nothing. They found a reputable appraiser to come in and appraise it at $1 million because that's what the people who hired the appraiser wanted. I get a little nervous after seeing that. I always thought appraisers had a certain standard they followed, but after I seen that and found out that they don't, I don't know if I would trust it. I would rather,
Yeah, that's why you have 3
yeah,
instead of
well,
1.
I think it.
There are national standards for the appraisals they have to comply with. I think Dan can probably illuminate that better than I.
Yeah, I noticed the state appraiser got away with appraising a piece of ground saying that best in personal use would be apartment buildings when there's no way it could be apartment buildings. And the state and everybody fought and said, oh boy, this is a good deal, so if they get away with it, I don't know if I would trust. I don't know.
When you have 3 appraisers looking at a piece of property, they have to come within a certain, actually they do 2. And if they don't come in within a certain percentage of value, difference of value, then a 3rd appraiser is brought in to determine which is closer. That's usually how that works. I just want to remind everybody that the reason this came about was we don't feel, or I didn't feel, and the people on the committee don't feel that Dillon is in the business of buying and selling properties. So everybody's concerned about selling this property down the road. We don't know what's going to happen in 10 years or after we're gone. That's why we decided to go with a lease. That way, they still have it in case Telly Springs wants to have that go through. We can come back in and say, Mr. Hagenbarth, we need to break the lease because we're going to run the road through. And when it comes back to the walking path, they don't have, it's the irrigation company owns that property. Or they have the lease. You can't have a lease on top of a lease. And they're not about to give the Trails Coalition a lease to do that land. So they got to look at a different area. I do have a little concern with the air deal. And I think that it should read that if land changes, even if their family members inherit the place, that they still should have to come back to the city and do an agreement with us again. It shouldn't automatic. Now, if they're still there, then I have no problem with the automatic. But where it transfers from air to air, I think that whoever is in that place, if it changes hands, they should come the lease would go through until they come, they need to come in and let's look at the lease and have them sign the lease, not just pass it on. That's my thoughts on that. But we've been working on this thing forever. And other than that, that was my concern when we wrote it the first time, was the error to error. And I was informed, well, there's not going to be any problem. Well, I still think that there's a problem there. But other than that, I thought it was a good lease. And then again, they've been taking care of that property for years. They weren't asked to. They just took it upon themselves to take care of it. And it looks nice over there, and I feel, well, what do we lease over to the high school? That's a $10 lease, And you're talking, you want $1,000 lease? God, come on, that's ridiculous. And
Well, that was my give back.
yeah. But if you're going to make something like that, make it more like maybe $100. But no, I think it's fine. Other than, in my opinion, number 11 needs to be looked at as far as the error. That's my only concerns.
I've got probably a simple question for our city attorney. On number 5, why does it say structures exist on the premises and continued use must be protected? Why doesn't it say is protected? Like must be like, it must be a duck, but it's a goose. You know what I mean?
But a duck, yeah, but you're saying a duck is a goose.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, duck is a goose, but somebody's confused and says it must be.
Well, instead of saying continued use, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying instead of continued use must be protected, it could read continued use is protected.
Yeah. I don't know why that bothered me.
I understand, yeah. I think I may have put that in there to add a little bit of emphasis.
Okay.
But I think it's probably the same effect
Same effect.
both ways.
I thought maybe it must be with some legal things.
No,
You
just
attorney.
personal preference.
Okay.
I pulled that one out of the hat.
There's a motion on the table to accept this, unless the person that made the motion wants to amend it. You have a question, or want to comment, Jim?
One comment after
Yeah.
the motion.
Yeah, okay.
That's discussion after the motion, is that correct?
So the motion will be to accept it as.
As is. Right now it is accepted as is, unless the person that made the motion wants to amend it, or
Well, I mean, her comments were not made into a motion, so.
yeah, no, there's comments.
I would
My
make a-
comments were not made into a motion, because a motion was on the table, already on the table.
Make a motion
I
on
think you
top
could.
of a motion.
Yeah. You could move to amend, I think, if you wanted to, but procedurally, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys want to send this back to committee, procedurally how you want to do it, that's not up to me.
There's one last question I want to ask. I looked this up a while ago, several months ago, and I would like something from the city attorney. I believe that we have to have five affirmative votes to approve this. Is this correct?
Or,
No, I
you'd have
think
to
we
have 4 in this
five.
case. There was one person. Just the majority.
Majority of the quorum.
Because there's only 7 here, the majority vote.
Except this is one of those areas where we have to have 5 affirmative votes. It's in the same part of the law where it talks about approving, like the new city attorney or the new city treasurer. You have to have 5 affirmative votes for those
For appointments.
per appointment.
Yes.
Yeah, and the same with when you are, well, I can't remember.
If that's a question for me, I can't answer right now because I don't have the rules in front of me.
And I just didn't have time to look that up again.
Call for the question.
Okay, the question's been called for to accept this lease as it is right now. We'll do a roll call vote just in case. Dawn,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
Russ,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Raymond,
Aye.
George,
I'm going to recuse myself because of my connection with the resort.
Mary Jo.
Nay.
Okay, it passes 5-1-1.
Which is 2.
Which is 2.
Okay.
1 abstain, 1 no. We'll get all the blanks filled in, dates, and
Mr. McGinley.
yes, Mr. Hagenbart.
My name is Jim Hagenbarth, represent myself and my wife Laurel, 503 South Nelson Street. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the council for the work that they've done on this issue and then issue you work with. And for the city attorney for working on this. I kind of disagree with, you just don't pass what these folks do. It has to be passed based on the law.
That's correct, too. I'll say jump, but I'll make sure it's in the law first.
So with that, thank you very much. It's been a long and arduous project, but I think it benefits everyone. We have the ability to manage the liability of that canal with this, and take care of that resource until you folks decide whether or not you want to terminate. And you can terminate it anytime you want, 60 days. Give me the 60 days, get your butt off of it. I'm out of it, because that's what the lease says. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next order of business, approve Janine Bennett to serve on the Public Library Board of Directors.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Russ, second by Diane.
What's the library committee?
She's made to order. I mean, she came and visited with us at the last meeting and she's ideal.
Thank you.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to accept Janine Bennett to the Library Board of Directors. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. She is a member of the Library of Directors unanimously. Next, citizens' request.
I think I caught all the typos already, don't save me some time.
Well,
Did you get the last one?
Yeah.
They're gonna get a problem handles?
Yeah.
oh, well, I was
Same
wondering,
way the garages were empty.
on the Snowcrest Apartments, garages are empties?
Yeah,
So I'm assuming that was garbages were emptied?
yes,
Okay,
I think.
I would assume.
Yeah, because it was piling up over there.
Okay. Which, just as a question, not on the citizen request, but are we gonna put garbage cans back down on Idaho Street now?
At this time, no.
No? Okay,
Why not?
Because it's more of an issue with the apartments that are upstairs than the general public using them. They're being used, they're now being used more by the apartments upstairs.
Plus, aren't they in the way when you go plowing snow?
And then, yeah, that would help as well. But the crew goes through when they empty them and make the comments that, yeah, it's somebody's garbage from upstairs, it's somebody's,
Yeah. They do have a large dumpster out back that's supposed to be used.
yes.
which I always thought they used. Have we asked the downtown businesses if that works for them to no longer have any garbage cans that people can put garbage into? So that we're just gonna have garbage on the street?
We have not had an issue with garbage on the street since they've been removed. And no, I've not asked.
Oh, we haven't had anybody on the street.
I can say that another business at 36 North Idaho said that she was gonna come out and speak with you about putting our garbage can back, because it was an issue during Fall Fest.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments about our citizens' request? Okay. Moving on to the reports of officers of the Board of the City. Library Board.
Okay, we don't have any minutes, we just had a meeting on the 25th of October. However, I did speak with Lori today. She has been in contact with John's wife. Liz has approved for Lori to have a reception in John's name next Thursday, the 10th, at the library from 2 to 6. So, again, that's on Thursday the 10th. She's gonna close the library and have a reception in John's name from 2 to 6. So if anybody would like to come, Lori's having a hard time.
Okay.
And that's the end of my report.
Our attorney, Sky Jones.
Thank you, guys. Everything on the criminal prosecution side of things is moving along, and I'm getting up to speed on, instead of trying to keep people out of jail, how to try to hold them accountable for their actions. But that's going very well. Just a quick update on the city-county lawsuit. I had about an hour-long conversation this morning, telephone conference with Susan Swimley and Terry Depew, who are counsel for the county in that matter. We are moving towards a resolution, but I would like to ask the council if I can perhaps meet with each of you individually to talk about what you might like to see as far as a global settlement agreement in that case, so that I kind of know what I might be authorized to pursue in that case. We have pushed a couple of the deadlines back as far as the motions deadline that was coming up in a couple of weeks to try and facilitate a resolution that is agreeable to all the parties. So that's where that's at right now. Another interesting development is a power pole that was installed in the middle of Kent Avenue, an avenue that was platted in 1910, was on record, and there's a very detailed plat. Northwestern Energy decided to put a power pole right in the middle of it. Mr. Wetland's in the middle of turning that into a nice neighborhood. You can't do it with a power pole right in the middle of the street. I have provided Northwestern Energy and their representatives with all of the pertinent information on why the street was put where it was, and have met with some folks at Vigilante Electric as far as why power poles go where they go. The answer is typically common sense, which I don't think was exercised in this instance. So that might be coming to a head if they refuse to move their power pole. I'll be talking to you guys about taking additional action.
Can't we put it in a roundabout? Use that for the
If we want to spend a whole bunch of money, it would probably be a lot cheaper to just move the power pole than put it in a roundabout. But no, where it's located, it's move or don't have a street, basically. And I invite you all to go out there and take a look. Maybe give Mr. Wetland a call. I'm sure he'd be happy to give you a tour of the premises. Another thing that I need to talk to you guys about, and I don't know if this is appropriate for my report, but I'm gonna bring it up anyways, and you can direct me to where I should go. Our office has a yearly budget of $2,500 for conflict work. So if, say, my best buddy gets a ticket, right? I can't prosecute that claim. The going rate is about $2,500 for a case, for another attorney to take the case, to prosecute a case. And before I got here, Ms. Farmer entered into an agreement with an attorney, Ms. Kruger out of Sheridan, to prosecute a defendant that has 3 cases. And so she had a conflict, Marta Farmer had a conflict. Ms. Kruger agreed to prosecute all 3 of these cases for $3,500. She's on the case. This was all taken care of before I got here. So she is counsel of record for the city of Dillon and the state of Montana in prosecuting those cases. When I got here, I thought that I would save the city a little bit of money and call her and say, I don't have a conflict, let me have the cases back. Been advised that they would drop the fee to $2,500 and then let us have the cases back. So, you know, I guess the options right now are to pay her $3,500, $2,500, which comes out of my budget upstairs, and $1,000 that I would request from the council, or I take the 3 cases and prosecute those cases, and we pay them $2,500. Those are kind of my, you know, those are the choices that are on the table right now regarding the flat fee agreement that was entered into with that office upstairs before I got there for $3,500 to prosecute those 3 cases. Now, if you could advise me what committee I need to talk to or when I should bring this up, I'd be happy to do that.
Probably should come to finance,
Absolutely. That'd be the end.
along with the mayor.
Now, that's gonna be at the end of the month, correct? Last
We
Thursday?
need to have a special meeting, we
Got
can't.
it, got it. The way things sit right now, Ms. Kruger is proceeding with those cases. I don't think there are any deadlines right now, and I don't know whether or not she has communicated or not with defense counsel, but those cases are moving forward. I mean, I'm trying to keep the wheels turning on the criminal side of things the same way I try to do it on the civil side of things. So just a heads up, it's, you know, she's gonna be doing some more work between now and then. I assume that at the end of the month, her offer will still be on the table, and those 2 choices will be there, but I'll be happy to be at the finance committee meeting.
Yeah, personally, I can't imagine you, for $1,000, taking those back, basically, and working them over. I'd say go ahead and leave them with her. We'll dig up the $1,000, but we'll have to look at the budget book.
Yeah, personally, that's where I'm leaning, and that's what I would stand up at the podium and ask for. It is a busy office. We've got a lot of criminal cases, and we've got a lot of civil work that I inherited when I showed up a month ago. But I'll be happy to chat with the finance committee about that. Everything else is going great. As usual, my door is open to citizens, to council members. You know, we've got open lines of communication out there with anybody and everybody that has a concern. More than happy to make some time.
On your first point, would you prefer we do a closed session for legal reasons? And discuss it en masse, or do you want to go individually?
I mean, we
You can't close the case.
I don't believe we
Yes, we
can.
can.
Not dealing with money.
Well,
No, we're not dealing with money. Right now, we're dealing with what we thought the overall thing's going to be. And we can close it for doing legal work.
Yeah, that's, I don't think I need to address that, but I think that I'd love to sit down with you individually, just to get my finger on the pulse. I think that's sometimes a little bit easier, and plus I enjoy everybody's company, so.
I just thought I'd put that out there as well.
Yeah, thank you. Everything else is going good. That'll conclude my report, thank you.
Okay, any questions, others? Okay. Planning board, Don Hand or Dan Nye?
No meeting, no report at this time. We're gonna have a meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So we'll see what comes out of that.
Okay, zoning commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before you are the minutes of the September 13th the zoning commission for your acceptance.
Move to accept.
Second.
Been moved to accept it by Dawn, seconded by Dan.
I'm curious why on item G is in Gopher, you decided to postpone and basically pass it on down the line. You were having a short meeting as it was. Can somebody explain why that occurred?
I believe at that time we didn't all have the same materials. And it helps we're on the same page, so we're not all jumping through hoops.
Okay.
That's why.
It'd be nice if the minutes reflected that then, for forensic reasons and nothing else. Thank you. Nothing else, we'll call for the question?
Question's been called for to accept the minutes of the zoning commission for September 13th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The minutes been accepted unanimously.
Also before you is the approve the annexation and zoning of the Swinson property track 1 Alpha 2. certificate of
You missed
survey.
one.
I'm passing on B. That's
Okay.
not our jurisdiction, and that did not approve last night.
It doesn't matter if it was approved last night or not. The last time,
The last time we did this was Engine 18, and it came as a recommendation from the zoning commission at that time, which was shut down by the council because the council didn't have the jurisdiction. And since I didn't have anything coming out of the meeting last night, I'm just,
so who has the jurisdiction to waive fees then?
it's just like D as in dog. Zoning has nothing to do with approval subdivision. That's planning. So I can't address that either. My hands are tied on both those. So I don't know.
I think the waiving of the fee would be a request to the council with a recommendation by zoning, wouldn't it?
Zoning made the recommendation to approve Engine 18 last time, and the mayor and the council at that time, y'all said zoning commission does not have the right to set fees or waive fees, and it went before you all, and I believe y'all turned it down,
Correct.
if I recall.
No, the,
And since nothing came out of the meeting last night, I even asked, I go, where's my direction? I mean, if you as the administrator would like to address it and ask for it, I think you could. But just like D, I'm not gonna ask, do you approve the Blacktail Solar Home subdivision, even though the hearing minutes are here, I have to defer that to left or right, because that's truly planning board. It was just a misplacement on the agenda.
How much is the fee that they're asking to be waived?
$75.
And having not read the application, what is it for?
It's for an addition to the building, ordinance building.
And they're in the highway business district, so there's no setbacks, correct?
Correct.
No, there is setbacks.
There are setbacks, yes.
Are they within that or without it?
They're within the setbacks,
So is that little front piece they've got flagged out?
yes.
On side of Atlantic Street?
It's the second lot they picked up.
Second one?
So it'll be an extension of the current structure, the 0 lot line on the one side. And it was not approved last night,
Okay,
so it's premature.
okay. So we can pass on B then in totality at this time.
Unless
But-
the administration
general-
wants to bring it
But the
forward.
general practice is that when somebody turns in an application, they turn in their fee at that time. At that time, they ask for it to be waived. And I know with the Engine 18, I just decided to put it on the agenda so that we could get it taken care of now. With the idea that zoning, because of the issue that came up, zoning could not make that decision.
And that's where it's administrative.
And they have no problem paying the $75, but since they're a nonprofit group.
Well, when you get a bill from them, you don't think it's nonprofit.
So, Mr. Mayor, wouldn't this come through your office? They would send a letter to your office requesting to be to waive their zoning compliance certificate fee, and then you would bring it to the council and we would approve or not approve.
Yeah, probably should be the way. Okay, we'll pass on B for now then.
So C is in Charlie, to approve the annexation and zoning of the Swenson property tract 1 Alpha 2, certificate of survey number 2017 Bravo Alpha. That was the public hearing last time, folks. And we're just asking for your approval.
Move to approve?
Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Diane to approve the annexation and zoning of Swenson property tract 1A-2, cause number 2017DA.
That's gonna be an R2, isn't it, Russ?
C2,
C2.
commercial 2,
C2.
continuation of what's out there.
And why D is on here too, is that the feeling is that C and D go together.
Correct.
Well, if it
Is D
pleases the council, I'll address item D under zoning commission. Once we get done with what we're doing here.
It says in the resolution, no R2.
Oh, it
Or
says,
am I looking at the wrong
You're
resolution?
looking at the numbers.
That's number E. Yes.
Okay.
oh, yes.
Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called forward to approve the annexation and zoning of the Swenson property. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Okay, the approval passes unanimously.
So D, via the planning board, truly approved the Blacktail Solar Home subdivision. And that was last time, folks. Everything was brought forward. It's simply to approve.
Move to approve?
Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Don to approve the Blacktail Solar Home subdivision.
Now, are we approving the preliminary plat or the final plat? I should ask that.
I mean, has this gone through review?
Yes.
Mhm.
So, Mr. Haysbaker, what is it?
This would be the final.
No, planning board hasn't even approved final.
It's
Okay.
preliminary.
Yeah, it'd be,
This is
yeah,
the
preliminary.
First.
Yeah, it'd be first, be preliminary, I'm sorry.
Request the motion to change? To express it's the primary,
Yeah.
or preliminary, I should say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is approve the Blacktail Solar Home subdivision preliminary.
Preliminary plat.
Yeah.
Is the second agreed?
Oh, yes, agreed, sorry. I didn't, did I second that?
If you were going second,
Yeah.
Yeah, you said.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
I didn't think I did.
Somebody did.
You handled it, that's good.
Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to approve the Blacktail Solar Home subdivision preliminary plat. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. It passes unanimously.
And then surely E, discuss or approve resolution number 1433, resolution of the City of the Council of the City of Dillon, stating the intent to consider annexation of a tract of land, and that tract of land is parcel Bravo Alpha 2, a certificate of survey 1958 feet. The property address there is 1304 East Glendale Street, folks, and that's for a R2, which is consistent.
Move to approve?
Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Don to approve resolution 1433.
Are you gonna finish up the rest of that sentence, Russ, or are we gonna do it secondary?
I can never say the last name. And also to provide a combined hearing on the question of annexation of the property of zoning, the same, and the providing the notice of the combined hearing.
Apparently the property is served with city sewer now,
Yes,
but not city water.
yes.
Well, if we approve it into the city, don't we have to provide water too?
Yeah, they're hooked to water.
No, they're hooked to sewer, I thought.
They're hooked to water as well.
Yeah, they have both now.
Okay, so the water line already goes up.
Yes, they put it in.
How'd they get across the ditch?
They went underneath her, they put it in.
Okay. Well, I guess I have no problem with it.
Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to approve the resolution 1433, the annexation of the Benjamin Tarantino property.
That's why I gave it.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick question here. About 2/3 of the way down the page, there's whereas this tract of land is served with city sewer services. Should that not also indicate city water services?
City sewer,
Yes.
yeah, city sewer and water. Change.
I believe we can continue with that change, can't we, Sky?
Yeah.
I don't see why not, I think you could,
It's a minor enough change.
yeah, and I don't think.
Change my motion to change it to as amended.
Question's been called for to approve as amended resolution 1433, the zoning and annexation to provide a hearing notice. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Okay, resolution 1433 passes unanimously.
We have met, but we have no minutes from those last two meetings. That concludes my report.
Okay. Number 5, Director of Operations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just general activities going on, but there's a few things that need to update you on. Firstly, I'd like to thank Jennifer McKay for being our water person this past summer. She did an excellent job. She had a couple other jobs and she was able to, in her time, come and water the trees for us. I appreciate her time in doing that. If you've been behind Safeway, you'll notice that Beaver Pride 3 has started. And, then one of the things that was discussed, has been discussed in the budget process was, and has been the new design of a website. And I know roughly $4,000 was set aside. And the Montana Local Government Center will help design a website for $500 with a $150 fee every year after that at this time. So if you go to their website, you can see it. They give examples, Haver, Three Forks. There's a couple others. They're very nice, well done.
What's that website again? I'm sorry.
Pardon?
What's the website again?
The Montana Local Government Center, the MSU. They also provide training for those that would be in charge of the website.
Excellent.
So what did the other cities, Haver and where else?
Haver, Three Forks, I think Baker. So that's out there. And then also I have set up training from the MSU Montana League, or the Montana Local Government Center, to have Dan Clark come on December 14th, the afternoon of December 14th from 1 to 5 o'clock, to discuss local procedures. If there's anything specifically you would like to have him discuss or questions, please feel free to email those to me, and then I can visit with Dan about those. But that is December 14th from 1 to 5. Don't know the location yet. one of the things I'm looking at is possibly the college, and then possibly, I don't know, get a little money out of it. And maybe have a little luncheon, light lunch with that, kind of a Christmas celebration as a council. That's something to think about. And also the county will be invited as well. I've not invited them yet. And I also sent out an invitation to Senator Welburn and Representative Welsh, see if they would like to attend, and then also give us possibly a idea of what the next legislature would be.
So, I'm sorry, Mr. Hazelbaker, I didn't understand, would our legislators be invited to the meeting with Dan Clark? Or will
Yes.
they be invited to council meeting?
No, they'd be invited to part of this program, invited to the training, and then they'd, as part of the training, either before it begins or during it, they would
What
give their
time would you be looking at having this?
1 to 5.
25?
Mr. Hazelbaker will be proud to give you continuing education credits.
But you had to pass the test though.
Are we, is the training, so you said the training would be on local procedures?
Or whatever you'd like to have them discuss. Conducting meetings, a lot of questions came up tonight about some certain things. You can address those.
I'm definitely gonna be there.
And is this something that we have, are we going to be, have we contracted with Dan to come and do this? Are we going to be paying him?
His fee is, I thought you were aware of all this stuff, of his programs. It's $500. And with the county being involved, I'll say the county will split it. They've been good to work with me in the past in splitting fees for rental or programs.
I guess I just, I know that the last time you arranged for him to come, Todd, that was a very packed meeting, and we left with everybody having more questions and needing more time with Dan. So I'm wondering if, I think that's phenomenal that you have invited the legislators. I've been wanting that forever, so that we could be on the same page with our legislature, or our legislators, on what's going on in Helena, and we can support them with letters and testimony or whatever is needed. I guess I'm just wondering if that should be at the same time as Mr. Clark's visit here.
I have no problem with it, that they would, ideal, I guess, if we were to have a little luncheon, they could speak during the luncheon and then go right into Mr. Clark's presentation. Or they may want, Mr. Clark may want to include them in part of the presentation.
And I think emailing questions ahead of time to Todd so he can compile them and get them to Dan will help alleviate some of the issues with having a bunch of people there and not getting the message across. But I understand your concern.
Are we also inviting Lima?
Good idea.
We talked about that at one time, I
Yeah.
know. And I don't know if Twin Bridges would be interested either, they're just close by.
Ooh, they got a new clerk.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Have a new mayor in the first of the year.
That might be excellent.
Okay. The mayor Lima's kind of a regular, so.
He'll be in on Friday.
Any more questions concerning that? Okay, and then we will need to move, this is some joint meeting, the tree board and cemetery board meeting that was scheduled for the 7th. We need to move it to the 14th. you can, please, because we have a street and alley meeting. They're the first, street and alley meeting is the first Monday of every month. Cemetery's the second Monday of every month.
But the tree board is the first Monday of each month,
That's nice, but,
and it's a joint meeting with the tree board.
so who's,
I mean, there isn't any overlap, is there?
yeah, the mayor would have to be in two places at once. I'd have to be in two places at once.
Cancel it.
Cancel it completely?
No. I mean, the tree board is made up of 8 people from the community who give their time freely. They have scheduled in for this Monday. I'm not gonna reset a meeting for the 14th after we've already, it took 2 months to get it on the board for the 7th.
Yeah, we plan on going up to the cemetery and looking over trees
And
and,
you still can on the 14th, it's not like.
well, we
it's-
don't know that.
We don't know that.
Would you like me to reach out to him? I'll take the responsibility for it. I'll reach out to the Eaton and I'll take care of it. It's not the end of the world. So with that, I'd answer any questions.
Okay, no more questions, we'll move on to our police department. Assistant Chief Joel Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the council. In the packet, there is 3 reports provided. I'll go through and try and help explain as they can be confusing. Our Chief of Police, Jeremy Alvarez, and law enforcement liaison, Danielle Damon, spent about 8 hours last week trying to compile these. And I hope that they do end up satisfying what you had requested, personnel work, at the last meeting in terms of how often we were writing citations that, of that nature. So the first one is the total CAD calls received by nature of call. You can see all the type of calls that we responded to for the month of September and what percentage of the total amount that makes up for our department. At the bottom of the second page is the total misdemeanor citations. For the month of September, we wrote 39 tickets, and those were non-custody tickets. Of those non-custodies, 15 were traffic and 24 were non-traffic. For the month of September, we had 19 physical arrests, which resulted in 32 misdemeanor charges and 6 felony charges. Moving on to the next one is another CAD calls received, and this goes into the frequency, and it's actually a neat report to look at. I believe this one breaks down into how often our officers are responding to these types of calls. The first report had a total amount of CAD reports of 350. It's 350, and this one breaks it down to 669. So I believe that correlates to the officers responding. So if we have 2 officers that are working on a child abuse case that are assigned to that, it would end up duplicating due to our frequency of how often we're there, if that makes sense.
So it's actual man hours involved then?
Correct. And how many actual calls, not necessarily that are received, but how many times we go to them. So this breaks it down of how often we go to whatever type of call, whether it's a domestic disturbance, about every 7.5 days. We're at those. A child abuse case, I believe there was one for the month that was labeled as a child abuse. However, some things can be labeled in different ways, such as a juvenile sometimes can be juveniles at the skate park or juveniles that are being abused, which happens about once every day and a half or day and 3/4 according to this.
Move to accept all three.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the reports of the police department.
I've got a question on the cat calls. When you have a controlled substance abuse problem and drug offense, what's the difference? I mean, what's the substance abuses that wouldn't be drug?
It all depends on how the call comes in. We have different ways that we can label it, same as the child abuse versus the juvenile. Sometimes we may get a call from like the child abuse hotline and we just label it as a juvenile call because we don't know exactly all the details as to what is getting involved in that call. So it may have came in as a number of different things, whether it's a needle found on the ground. It could be that it was a drug case that somebody was working. It could be.
So that if a needle was on the ground, that would be a controlled substance problem rather than a drug abuse.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, when these CAD calls come in and you go to put them in, there's a drop-down menu, right, with all of these different things listed on here. And some of them might seem a little redundant, but when the officer's putting it in, it might be under controlled substance or drugs, or it could be both. Another controlled substance might be huffing gasoline or something that wouldn't go under, necessarily under drugs.
Right, I could see that as of course that wouldn't be controlled either.
No. The price of gas these days, it should be.
Go back to
Partners.
Back in the day, we used to siphon gas, used to get a few whips.
Yeah.
I just wanted to commend the department for these reports. When Chief Alvarez and I spoke on the phone, we were talking about how we could make sure that we as a council and the public understand how hard the police department works. And this really helps. I hope that we can continue to see these kinds of reports. They're just great. Please thank him for me.
Oh, thank you.
Joel, I see the Dillon Police Department responded to Jackson for an active shooter. At least that's what was reported in the scandal sheet. In the past, we had an issue as the council of that happening because it emptied the town of peace officers. How was this last event different so the town was still protected?
So it was an obvious emergency. Somebody actively shooting puts a lot of people in danger, and with limited cops in the county, our guys needed to go. As they were responding, they began calling myself, Chief Alvarez, and other officers to come in and cover the city. So the city would never lapse in coverage. While we had 2 officers out of town, other officers checked on shift to make sure that the city was still covered.
Did they actually have a vehicle to drive?
Yes.
Okay, the last time it emptied the town of vehicles as well, that's what I was curious.
Yeah, no, the 2 officers that went, I believe, were in 1 vehicle, and we had other vehicles.
I understand with the mutual aid agreement, that's appropriate.
Yes.
So, but I just wanted to make sure that they had changed since the prior one and hadn't stripped the town of all of our peace officers.
Same as this prior weekend, we had deputies and highway patrol that were assisting with the shots fired that happened here in the city. So it's working both ways, and we're glad of that.
Thank you.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to accept the reports from our police department. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We've accepted the reports unanimously. Any other questions? Okay, on to our fire department. Chief Cosey had another engagement for tonight. On there's 2 financial reports.
Move to accept the city clerk report for firehouse September 22nd and approve the budget versus expenditures for firehouse September 22nd as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Russ, seconded by Diane to accept the reports. Ms. Cammy might be able to explain it if you have any questions on the reports.
What? No, they match.
They match.
Okay, well, I'll unbalance it here for you then.
Move on, move on.
On the statement of expenditure from the city clerk, under capital outlay for machines and equipment, why don't I see an entry there for the fire engine?
Because at that point, it had not been, only 233 of it is coming out of capital outlay. But it has to be transferred into capital outlay from a different accounting thing, right? And Karen, as of,
From the 4026, the
yeah,
CARES ARPA.
yeah. And at that point, that hadn't been done yet, because this is from September.
Well, this is September.
The one that you made.
Right.
Okay. Next month, I'll ask where it's at then.
Okay. And I won't have to count this day. It'll be good.
Thank you.
Karen and I will come up with something better.
Call for question.
Question's been called for to accept the reports of our Dillon Volunteer Fire Department. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Reports were accepted unanimously. Good, on to the city court. Judge Minor's not here tonight. Treasurer Karen Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packets, you have the cash summary report from September 2022, the cash bank reconciliation from September 2022, and the bank collateral statements, and I ask for your approval.
Move to approve all three.
Second.
Been moved by Russ, seconded by Dawn to accept the three reports from our city treasurer.
Karen, how come we have such a large balance in outstanding checks, almost $600,000?
A lot of big checks out there.
Is that money we've paid out, or is that money that's supposed to be paid to us, as far as an outstanding check goes?
It's money we've paid out, and you guys, your finance committee doesn't approve them until the last Thursday of the month. So then
I
they
can't
all
pay
go
them
through the
until
system,
tomorrow.
but they are still outstanding, they're still out there.
They're still on my desk.
Okay.
I can't send them until you approve them tonight.
Correct. So, if that's the case, are they supposed to show up as negatives?
Yeah.
Is that because they're part of a cash account?
Yes.
That's how they come across in the reports, yes.
On the second page, under account 8078, I know there's some prepaid funds for the, oh, that's J.C. Park, this is Ray Lynch Park. Aha. Never mind. I just found what was bothering me. Wrong park. Mary Jo, you got too many parks.
So what page, where are you?
I was on the second page.
Page 2.
Yep. Under account 8078. It's the Stockman's Bank account investments. The first line there, that 101009, says cash to be used for Ray Lynch Park improvements.
You know, those are some old headers that came over from when we changed to the new accounting. And I can see if I can get rid of those. It's really just the investments, stock and bank market. Yeah, I'll get rid of that.
then we go back onto the page 1 of 6 on the City of Dillon cash report. Under the 2190 comprehensive liability,
Yeah,
what's going on there? Those are negative.
that's the one that has been like that for years because we have to pay it all at a certain time. And then we just carry it, and as money comes in for it, then it gets applied, and eventually it ends up in the positive. It's the timing of when we have to purchase it.
We go over that every year.
I know. I guess my question is, we don't have enough cash to fund that up front, so we don't have a negative balance? Because I wonder who we're stealing money from to pay it.
We could,
It would make it harder in the bookkeeping system.
well, and you could, I guess, mend the budget to allow me to pay it. I mean, it's gonna be like this forever, and allow me to pay it on as needed, but I don't know.
You see
You've
my point
always-
that it
you've
looks
always
like we're
carried
borrowing
it
money
this
from
way.
somebody.
What it does is the accounting system actually, in its brain, sets up a liability account. And so you have this huge deficit in the liability account, and then every month that liability account factors down and down and down, and eventually it will be zero. But we go through this every year, Don.
I mean, as far as transferring funds from another fund, have never been told I could do that for this particular thing. I'm told this is the way it's run for years. So,
Well, just because it's been run for years, that way doesn't make it right. That's what's, I'm finding more and more often around here. So that's why I was questioning that. Especially when it says it's a cash receipt. And so I was thinking, that doesn't look right. But I understand it's an accounting game.
yeah, rest assured that cash account, the 1,000 account, is not overdrawn. No. I always make sure it has money.
That's good.
But that particular fund, looks like that until it goes through, the cycle, so to speak.
And then it'll get to zero, and then we'll pay it again, and it'll have a huge negative number.
It'll be to zero for about 2 months, and then it happens again. Or maybe a little more.
Okay. I think this is more of the bookkeeping wonders of the world. Under the SID 34, to do area paving, that shows a negative beginning balance. Then we received enough cash to cover it without a problem. But that's the only one that I see in the SIDs that start out with a negative balance.
Which number?
SID 34,
35.
we're going to pay it off this year.
Yes.
Look at SID 34.
So why does it show a negative starting balance?
Or is being paid off?
It's going to be paid off
Paid off
this year,
this
yes.
year.
So we didn't collect any funds for it.
I believe that's the one that we've over-collected on.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, we actually over-collected, and there's a balance in there that we got to decide what we do with that. Is that a processing fee? Is it returned to the original owners? Yeah, it's a big, huge
Yeah,
question on that one.
yeah.
Part of the
Correct, that's the
problem
one.
is those
Well,
are
and
paid
I
up
think this
front,
is the one
and we pay
that
them the interest back.
Mike Clacken had told us that we were able to, you're able to charge a reasonable administrative fee, such as 5% to 10%. And so part of that money will eventually just go back to the general fund as administrative fee.
yeah. So it looks like we're only talking $600, $635. And if we tried to reapportion that back out to everybody, that'd be a royal wreck, and poor Karen would be all gray-haired and old by the time she got it figured out.
And they would not appreciate their individual checks for 34 cents.
No.
Yeah.
That ends my questions, thank you.
That does look strange, but yeah, that's what it is.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to accept the reports from the city treasurer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Report's been accepted unanimously. Get on to the tree board. Mary Jo.
I think, I'm not sure why our, now that I think about it, we have 2 sets of minutes that have to be approved by the tree board, and then I will bring them in for the council to accept. Our meeting is, our next meeting is supposed to be Monday.
Okay, then, on to the reports of standing committees of the city council. Our judiciary committee.
Before you, you have the minutes for October 18th and the minutes for October 26th. For approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
And moved by Russ, second by Don to approve the minutes of the judiciary committee.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the minutes of the judiciary committee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Minutes been approved unanimously.
Okay, we have 2 action items we need to take care of. One is the first reading of Title 8.16, Public Nuisance Ordinance.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Russ, seconded by Diane.
Now, we went in and, with the help of the city attorney, we wrote in, there were some questions as to having teeth and the ability for someone to appeal if they had a nuisance. And this way they have a way to appeal our decision, and then it would go to city court and let the judge decide. And but anyways, we put some teeth in there. They have a certain amount of days, and they can be fined if they do not respond to our letters. City attorney can probably explain it a lot better than I can.
That's a pretty good summary. Thank you, Mr. Knight. Yeah, I know there was some concern about, the definition of the word junk, or whatever that might be, not having any kind of an appeal process. Right now, there's a process where if there's a nuisance, we notice that nuisance to the property owner. They have 14 days to submit either a plan for abatement or take care of the nuisance. If that plan is rejected, they have an additional 7 days to file an amended plan. If that is rejected or the nuisance is not abated, at the end of 30 days, they will be issued a citation under our ordinance and also under state law. That kind of begins the, if they say this isn't a nuisance, then their appeal process is basically going to be to city court, where the judge will make a determination as to whether or not whatever's going on meets the technical definition of a nuisance. At that point, what I foresee is that I would be able to enter into a deferred prosecution agreement with the owner if we believed that it was an actual nuisance, and I could say, okay, we're not going to move forward with this ticket as long as we, make sure that things are taken care of. The only remedy that the court has with a nuisance would be a fine from $0 to $500. That does nothing for the abatement part of it. If the judge does make a determination that a nuisance did exist, that the owner of the property was guilty of that nuisance, then the city can begin the abatement process. wherein the city, if we have the resources, can go in and clean up that, whatever the nuisance might be. And then the costs of those abatements can either be paid by the owner or levied on the property. There's also an appeals process for that assessment. At the end of the process, if they dispute that the city, spent too much money in cleaning up whatever the nuisance was, they can appeal that assessment directly to the city council. So there are multiple layers and multiple things in here that give this ordinance a little bit of teeth so that we can actually do something if there is a nuisance and help, clean up some parcels that might need it. And so, happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Okay. Well, I got 3 different items here.
Yes, sir.
For you, Sky. On page 3, item C, we'll go down by the last sentence there. In particular, it says, all material must be completely covered with clean fill material once every 30 days, and the fill area must be adequately fenced to restrict access to the area. So does that mean that once a month, the person would have to go out and put some fresh fill dirt over the top of it? And if so, for how long does he have to do that? I think, I know what you wanted there. You wanted it covered within 30 days. But the wording is awkward for that.
Shall we read it out loud, Don?
Certainly.
Okay.
All such material must be
Well,
completely
let's start
covered.
from the beginning.
Well, that's just the beginning of the sentence. You want to do all of C?
I'll be happy to do it.
Okay.
Dirt, demolition waste, including work waste, bricks, concrete, used road blacktop, or other similar materials must not be piled, dumped, or deposited in public view unless such material is to be utilized for fill material to fill a land depression. If such material is used as fill material, it may contain only dirt, bricks, concrete, and/or used road blacktop as allowed by local, state, and federal regulations. All such material must be completely covered with clean fill material once every 30 days, and the fill area must be adequately fenced to restrict access to the area. So I believe that the intent is to make sure that there's not if somebody's using this for fill, right, that it's not just, for instance, we'll use blacktop, right, that it's not sitting there and, and they say, well, we're using it for fill. Well, you can't pile something up in a hole and let it look the way it does, look like a big pile of asphalt for an indefinite period of time without moving forward. If you're going to use it as fill, you got to use it as fill. And so I guess the intent of this section here is that it wouldn't go 30 days without being covered. I certainly wouldn't ask anyone to go out and put fresh dirt on the pile, And this wasn't a section that I didn't draft this section, this is in there. But if you so desire, we could certainly clean that up a little bit and just say that it won't be left uncovered with clean fill dirt for more than a period of 30 days at a time.
Okay, but how many times you got to do it? How many months? See, there's a never-ending thing. If you forever put clean fill dirt, pretty soon you got a mountain out there.
Well, they don't have to put clean fill dirt on top of clean fill dirt. They just got to put clean fill dirt on top of the asphalt or brick or whatever they're using for fill material.
Okay, once again, that's not what it says here, though. I understand your point. But all such material must be completely covered with clean fill material once every 30 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
Now, as far as compaction
So,
and taking
so I
the
agree,
swoop out, I can see that.
Obstructed from, as long as it's obstructed from view with clean fill dirt, we don't have a problem with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we wordsmith that just a little bit so it's
Absolutely.
not so?
Absolutely. I don't know who wrote that, but
Me neither.
I agree with you, it needs to be cleaned up.
If we change it, all such material must be completely covered with clean fill material within 30 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll take care of it.
Or the filled area must be adequately fenced and restricted.
I like and that it must be adequately fenced and restricted.
Okay.
But if you got clean fill dirt on, why do you have to fence it?
I don't want anybody playing with it.
Well, I guess it depends on how deep the impression is if you're filling, and
Yeah.
if they fill it up or not.
Okay, let's assume it's filled up to ground level.
This is assuming, Don, that this is a dump area and that it is under continual use. So that you do dumping and then 2 weeks later, you're gonna be doing more dumping there,
Yeah.
and 6 weeks later, you'll be doing dumping. It's not a static.
That is certainly one example, for sure, but it might be that there's a hole that they're gonna build on, or they're gonna do something with, and they're using that fill material to get it back up to grade.
Great,
And so once it's covered, then there's not a hole anymore.
it's done.
So but I agree where you're talking about, why does it need to be fenced off? You know, until it's,
If it isn't filled, I understand it, but if it's filled, it seems like an excess expense. And most people aren't gonna comply.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Off to page 5.
Would you like to strike that? And we can do this as amended, or?
Well, I've got 2 more spots here too, so we might as well do them all as one fell swoop, if that's acceptable. Under page 5, part 2, it's under enforcement. Now about the 1, 2, 3, 4th line down, the Dillon Police Department for issuance of a citation. In the past, all these have been issued by Mr. Hazelbaker. So is this a new change and the police are okay with going out issuing these citations? In the past, they have not been. So does the assistant chief have any feel for what the chief wants there?
I will not pretend to even speak what the chief wants in regards to this. So, no, I don't know what his intentions are with this.
Well, I think part of the reason that was brought up was because there was some stipulation or concerns whether the director of operations has the right or the authority to write a citation.
Well, I knew only the dog catcher was allowed at this present time, that's why I was wondering. But if it's a zoning violation, that comes under the director of operations. So I'm,
This ain't a
This
zoning.
is-
This isn't zoning.
Yeah.
There's the ordinance on our public nuisance, yeah.
okay, sorry.
And the citation itself will be a violation of state law, not necessarily just our ordinance, but under Montana Code 458111, the nuisance statute, which we don't have any authority the city doesn't have any authority, I should say, to issue a citation on that, just our ordinances. And as far as enforcement, goes, there's a lot of questions about what we can do to enforce something like that, which is why I was, I guess, inspired to include the court system, not only to take it out of our hands, so that there's not somebody at the city that's making a determination as to what a nuisance is, because that's a whole can of worms. If we leave it to a different branch of government to make the judgment by using the judge to do that, And so, so separating those, there's separation of powers, right? So separating those powers not only takes it out of, the city council's hands and out of my hands and out of the director's hands, but puts it in the hands of somebody that actually has some legal authority to enforce it.
Okay. So the police department doesn't have any problem with issuing citations then for this?
If it falls under the Montana Code, which we can enforce, as well as the city ordinances, it would be something that we'd have to coordinate with the city if this is becoming an issue. But yes, we would make a citation for it.
Okay.
And I don't see it as something that's gonna come up on the CAD report. It's not gonna be something that, that's gonna be, every day. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna get to that point very often. There are a few cases that I am foreseeing right now that it probably will, probably very soon, as soon as it goes into effect, but I don't see it as something that's gonna go up the works over at the police department.
Okay. And then my last one here is on page 6, item number 7. That entire parcel there, I guess my question here is why on that?
We certainly can knock it out of there. It's my understanding, in my limited experience working for city government, that assessments have to be levied. You know, if you have some assessments that you've done differently in the past, I encourage you to let me know and we can amend how you guys do that. But it's my understanding that this is how the assessment and levying process works. But again, I'm an infant when it comes to figuring out the ins and outs of city government.
So this basically would only come into effect if we hired a landscaper to go out and clean up a piece of property and he gave us the bill, and the owner wouldn't pay the bill. Is that
That's
right?
correct. Or if we hired the, $20 dump run guys to go out and haul off a bunch of garbage, or, a tree trimmer, or whoever it might be, if it's not a resource that's employed by the city, and even if we have to hire some outside, some help, we can certainly, that is when this comes into play. And if the city's using its own resources, if we've got some of the, whoever is working, takes a truck out there and hauls something off, we can, certainly levy an assessment for their time and the expenditures that the city's having to make in order to clean this up.
The reason this was brought up was, one of them was we had one instance where there was raw sewage on the land, or what if we have, you gotta have specialized people come in and do that. And then an area where there's asbestos involved, you still have to have specialized removal done. That's why
Okay.
Well, and also, Don, we were thinking that there's sometimes, there's some cases where it might be much cheaper for the landowner to just, and they don't have the whatever resources to hire the $20 a dump run guy. And it might be easier for the city to go ahead and hire him to do that. And then the landowner, but we have to get that itemized bill to that landowner as quickly as possible, so that they might pay that and that we don't have to go through the levying process.
Okay. That was all my questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Call for the question.
Okay. And you want to be as amended on C? Okay, the question's been called for to approve Title 8.16, the nuisance ordinance, as amended when we change C. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign.
I didn't know that, I didn't hear whoever made that motion that they amended their motion. Did we?
I made the motion, do we amend that? And I said, let's gang these other two in with it as well.
Great.
And so just for the record, the amendment is to strike the word once and add within, and to take everything out of, after the term 30 days, to strike everything after that in C, the fence requirement that's in there.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing is ordinance number 471, which has to do with bulk storage tanks. And we have
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved, ordinance 471 by Russ, seconded by Diane.
And if I remember right, we
like option A.
like, the committee liked chapter, or the definitions of, well, B is the one we really like because it also goes with the fire code. Either one would work for us.
Well, there's 1,000 gallons difference between A and B, basically. Fire code says 2,000, A says 1,000. So it would seem prudent to me that we use B that follows the code, so we don't have to modify this every time the fire code changes.
Correct.
That's what we like about it.
And just to let everybody know, what section 6104 of the International Fire Code states that The maximum capacity within established limits is 6104.2, and it states within the limits established by law restricting storage of liquefied petroleum gas for the protection of heavily populated or congested areas, the aggregate capacity of any one installation shall not exceed a water capacity of 2,000 gallons. It's been that way for as far as I could research it, 20 years.
Well, I move we use version B.
Second.
It's been moved to use version B of ordinance 471, second by Don and second by Raymond.
Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to accept ordinance 471, version B. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Okay, ordinance 471 passed unanimously.
Yay!
You still have a motion on the floor, sir. You selected motion was to select B. The actual motion made by myself is to accept the entirety of it. We know what that would be.
Okay, so now we're going to accept the motion to accept the ordinance 471 as written.
Okay, I have one question before that, please.
Okay.
On the bottom of that same page is under prohibited uses, item A, no premise in the city of Dillon shall be used for an LPG bulk storage facility.
Yes, sir.
We just allowed 2,500 gallons of propane, but now we say you can't have it on the property. Huh?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that for me?
Okay, item A says that no premises in the city of Dillon should be used for bulk storage facility.
That's correct. So what we are doing with this top part is defining bulk storage facility.
Okay?
And so, I'm sorry. In the bulk storage facility definition is anything over either what the International Fire Code says, in excess
In
of
excess
what the
of,
International
okay.
Fire Code says.
So it's a
So we're not
definition.
going to allow any a bulk storage facility in the city limits because that would mean it was over and above what the International Fire Code says.
Okay.
Good question, thank you.
So I looked at it and said, wait a minute, we just allowed it, and then we disallowed it.
Yeah, yeah,
Something's
yeah.
wrong here.
Absolutely, yeah, I was careful with that language, and I only put that additional language in there for reference, just to complete the ordinance itself.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Question was called for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the question is called for to accept ordinance 471 in its entirety. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Passes unanimous.
Yay!
Now the county will be happy.
They'll be happy down the street, yeah.
Good, because they already got it planted.
Well, it's not an LPG bulk storage facility right now, it's a big metal balloon in the ground.
Nice about
Truth.
No gas in it.
ago.
Right?
No explosive gas anyway.
It's got oxygen and nitrogen and carbon dioxide, yeah.
That concludes my report.
Okay, then on to our finance report.
Well, I hope this is a lot simpler. All right, before you have our September 28th meeting minutes, I ask acceptance.
Move to approve?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the finance meeting minute reports.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the finance committee reports for August 28th, October 28th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Minutes approved unanimously.
They're
September
October, correct?
28th.
Is not September, or which?
It's September, isn't it?
No, it's October.
Yeah,
October.
I don't know why they say September.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Oh, it does in the agenda.
Yeah,
Agenda
it
says-
does. Okay, I also we have 4 line items to ask your acceptance of or approval of. The first is the budget report for October 2022, the fund summary for claims for October 2022, the claims by vendor report October 2022, and the budget versus actual report for October 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved to accept the reports of the finance committee by Russ, seconded by Dan.
So we're on the claims by vendor, or what?
All four.
All four of the reports.
So I guess I just wondered, guys, on, there's all these $399.75, the Dawn Hand and Raymond Graham and,
You didn't drive.
Yeah.
I certainly did.
You drove your own car?
Did you submit?
I'll fix it. I thought you guys drove together.
We did.
Two of us.
You both drove your each car, each of you drove your car.
No, we drove together.
So I just reimbursed one of you for the mileage.
Where was that? Oh, did you get it?
On the very last.
Bottom of the second page.
That was my car.
Oh, no!
Marital disputes are not
Mary Jo,
jurisdiction.
It worked out anyways because he didn't get his paycheck this month, so.
Point of order.
Couldn't, he has to recoup that somewhere.
Actually, that wasn't.
I did too, drive, that's my car.
Don't you dare say anything to me that I buy that condo.
If she sends you a bill for the condo, George, just hand it back.
Yeah.
I would like to point the council's attention to the mayor's report to the finance committee expenditures for October 2022 sheet. It looks like that. If that helps you. Okay, a little bit over half of the way down, we have the public works. And it presently has expended to date 110%. Can somebody tell me what the public works expended that much of the budget for?
It was that way since the beginning, and I'm not sure why.
Did we budget that poorly, or did we have some of the excess from the water project rolled into this?
I'll have to research that, Don.
Yeah,
Sorry?
I'll research that.
Okay.
yeah, because I haven't even touched that part of it forever.
Okay.
So, yeah, that will,
Just so the council knows, this particular sheet the finance committee does not see when we're approving claims. This comes in after we've approved claims. Otherwise, I'd have caught it there. That's all I had anyway. Anybody got anything else? If not, I'll call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to accept the reports of the finance committee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Reports were approved unanimously.
That completes my report.
Okay, on to fire and order.
No meeting, no report. I am planning on calling a meeting November 21st, so.
Health and welfare.
We've not had a meeting, but I do hope to get one scheduled for the 17th of this month.
Cemetery committee, Mr. Brandon is gone. George or Diane?
I'll ask for the council's approval of the minutes of September 12th.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved by Russ, seconded by Dan to approve the minutes of the cemetery committee for September 12th.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the minutes of the cemetery committee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Minutes passed unanimously.
I see Mrs. Stephen Hazard is keeping you guys in line anyway.
And we're hoping to have the next meeting, I guess, now the 14th.
And on to our Parks Committee.
In your package, you'll find the minutes from the September 28th meeting and the October 26th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Diane, seconded by Dawn to approve the minutes of the Parks Committee.
So can anyone elaborate the September 28th, page 2? I'm missing it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I know, you notice at the top of it, there, it's interesting, because it says August 24th,
Right.
and it says pavilion for the entire Sunday, so it starts out at, so the
Oh,
question,
it's just 2 pages and it just, the header didn't get changed.
So it's
well,
one,
it still doesn't make any sense, though.
so it's 1, 2,
There's no curb.
3, and 4.
Yeah, like on the, this is the topic of the West Side Park. The last sentence on the first page, there is no curb or gutter there. This will be followed up on, and then it says pavilion for the entire Sunday.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, like
that's not
so-
making
page 2 is
sense.
missing.
I would,
Okay, so let's just have her resubmit those ones?
yeah, I think that might be good.
Because, yeah, page 2 is missing.
Okay. Ah, this is page 3 of 3. No wonder it doesn't make any sense.
We were talking about the lease policy that,
For use of the city park.
well, for use of the pavilion on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. And we'll work on that. We didn't make any decisions about that, we just discussed it.
That's good. So we're gonna recall September 28th minutes and have them resubmitted for next month, is that
Sure.
correct?
Great.
Thank you.
So we just need to call for the question on October 26th meeting.
Correct.
Okay, call for the question.
Well, not yet, not yet. On that one, under the number 2 report from the Parks Department, Jason Erickson.
Okay,
A.
so on which minutes are you talking
October
about?
26th,
Okay.
page 104. It says Vigilante Park, report on sprinkler blowouts and sunshades at JC Park. Which park are we talking about here, please?
Number 2, report from the Parks Department, Jason Erickson. Okay, so, and on
JC. That's
A,
it.
you're talking about?
Yeah, so Vigilante Park should be struck? From that first line past A?
2A starts with vigilante park. I think that was just a
Okay.
typo.
Yeah.
And he just started his report with a blanket statement, so he didn't have to say it for each and every park, that all parks have been blown out.
So
Is
should
that
start
what you're
report
worried
with
about?
sprinkler
Is
blowouts.
No, read line A, please.
So just
I
take
think
off
what
the
happened
25.
is J.C. Park should have been up there, Vigilante Park should not have been there.
That's what I'm thinking too, but I want clarification.
Or just report on
Yeah,
sprinkler
we need to
blowouts and
remove
sunshades at JC Park.
Vigilante Park under A and insert J.C. Park, which is right below it up.
Yes.
I was at that meeting, he did report on the sprinkler blowouts for all the parks. So that could just say, strike vigilante park, and say, report on sprinkler blowouts, comma, and sunshades at JC Park.
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
Ah.
that'll work too.
Okay?
So we're just gonna strike Vigilante Park,
Yes.
Or comma, and
Great.
blowouts.
Mhm.
and then report on sprinkler blowouts,
Correct.
comma, sunshade.
That's the same with everything.
I think it's called a Lincoln
Well, a semicolon,
That would work too. One of my favorite.
just a semicolon after sprinkler blowouts.
That was my only correction. Or question, I should say.
Okay, call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to approve the October 26th minutes of the Park Committee and resubmit the September 28th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. October 26th been approved.
Okay, and we I'm not sure why it's not on here. Or maybe, did we discuss that we approved or did we want to send to the council the approval of the Allen Landscape bid? Oh, you weren't there.
It was my understanding you were gonna see if there was that additional money, to get to that number.
Yeah, there's no line
We
item.
did. And the mayor was there and
Correct,
we
yep.
did find that money.
But it's under D in our minutes that we
Right.
voted to approve or
We
accept
voted
the
to
bid.
approve. So we don't need the council to approve that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you did, because you went into reserves.
Right, it should have been on the
line
agenda
item.
as an action
Action
item on
item,
the
correct.
agenda, so I would move that we resubmit our parks meeting for October 26th to our next agenda and include the action item on the agenda.
Yeah.
Because it has to be an action item too.
Okay, so we're going to resubmit both parks things and then add an action
Make
item.
sure the action item is added on there. There is a time-sensitive thing on that.
Yeah.
Although Jason had told us that he thought even if we went a month out before we call Allen Landscape, that he was pretty sure this bid would be just fine. What they're trying to do is get their projects lined up for March and April. So,
You get parts ordered. Now, which reserve fund are we taking money out of, Mr. Mayor?
This is budget, there's, like $40,000 in the parks for capital improvement.
Oh, okay, you're taking out the capital improvement for the
Yeah,
parks.
it's in the park, in budget of capital.
Okay, 'cause that wasn't explained in the minutes.
Okay, there's a motion to rescind October 26th minutes approval, but no second yet?
A second.
Okay. Been moved by Raymond and seconded by Diane to rescind October 26 minutes and have them resubmitted with the action item.
to approve the Allen Landscape and that the money would come from the capital improvements account for parks.
Okay. So, do you call the question?
Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to rescind October 26th park committee meetings, have them resubmitted with the action item. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, been rescinded and will be resubmitted. Okay. On to our city hall committee.
Okay, you'll see there is no minutes. We tried to have a meeting there today, but we didn't have anything available with us. Todd was away on an emergency, I'm assuming surgery. Or something or other. And so we didn't, but I asked the mayor to put on the agenda the bid for the roof, because we gotta get that roof repaired. The one on the back that keeps blowing up, and I don't see our bid.
I got this.
That's this.
There should be.
It's
One
there.
sheet.
It's there.
Okay.
23,262.
Okay. Anyway, I asked for our approval, we gotta get that roof fixed.
I'll move to approve for discussion.
Second.
Okay. Been moved by Russ, seconded by Diane. To approve the shop building roof.
But, and we're hoping the insurance company, this is one of those things we don't know. If you remember back in budget time, I said we might have to get some money out of the reserves to fix the roof. I don't know how much the insurance company's gonna pay. We have been dealing with them for 3 years. Two, three. I don't know if they first said they were gonna pay it, and then I don't know what happened, everything kind of fell in. But this is the one, I don't know if you guys remember driving by and seeing it, looked over, so this is number 3. I said, well, I should get 3 claims out of it, but. So I asked for your approval that we can get, this is Miss Danzy, I believe.
Yes.
If we could, give her the authorization to repair the roof, and hopefully it'll stay on this winter.
And what's your timeline, Mr. Grant?
Well, she's ready to go.
What's roofinado? Well, titanium is.
Roof NATO.
It's like
Okay.
Sharknado.
Whoa.
Is that like potato? So I assume that's like titanium? It's an impervious cover or sheet that goes in there underneath the sheeting?
It's a synthetic roof underlayment.
Thank you. Same as titanium, then. Nice.
So what does, Raymond, what does the insurance company say?
At this point, I have not heard back from them. I'm on my 4th agent within MMIA.
Well, you're burning them right down.
I am. That's how popular I am with them.
Good deal.
Nobody wants to deal with me.
Todd Tornado.
You mean when they just don't give you an answer?
Because I got back
Have
to
they
them.
ever even sent an adjuster down? I know they were going to one time.
They did roughly, well, yeah, 2 years ago, and did all the buildings. That gentleman's moved on.
Well, I don't understand why they're, because they approved when we had the other company looking at it, and the insurance company agreed to pay a certain amount, and now they're balking. I don't understand that.
I'm not sure they're balking, they're just trying to get everybody on the same page.
Otherwise known as we've been ghosted.
One of the situations also with the roof is there are solar panels up there. What would we like to do with those?
Do they contribute anything to the building? Do we have them hooked up to anything, or are they just colorful?
They're just up there, they're not hooked up to anything.
Upholding
I don't know the history behind it.
Aesthetically, equally friendly.
Well, let's take them off the roof, then put them back up.
They're not hooked up?
No.
It's on the roof now.
Well, you know, anything superfluous up on the roof probably could be removed.
So what should I do with them?
Put them out on Be Rare Classifieds, see what you can get for them. Each of those panels, if you buy them new, is probably about $400.
Okay.
I know somebody who's before you, but not that now.
So do we need a motion to authorize Sissy to go after the roof?
It's been motioned by Russ, second by Diane.
In that case, I call for the question, unless there's other questions.
I guess I am still very concerned that MMIA is not, I mean, when we were going through that first company, we approved all those. We had next to us a sheet that showed what MMIA was going to pay, and I think that we should hold them to that, or if you know, even a 10% or a 15% rise in what they were going to pay 2 years ago. And we should hold them to that.
I've never seen that sheet that they've been on.
And insurance claims are only good for a set period of time, and
That's
your
right,
claims
they
are only
are,
good for a
yeah.
set period of time as well. So if you look at the last hail damage, most of the roofers gave us 2 years, then it was 1 year for residential. So I mean, I guess if that's the case, Mary Jo, do we have this money in the fund in the city hall?
I think we allocated 20,000 in for the roof, if I remember right.
I'll work with
So,
Sky.
we'll have to look.
Sky and I,
I'd say give them one more shot. If that doesn't work, have Sky send them an official letter.
Yeah,
But in the meantime, we gotta get the roof fixed, whether we get money reimbursed from the insurance company or.
that's why I asked if we have the money
Oh,
right now
okay.
to pay for it up front. We
Right.
have 20.
Okay, yeah.
And I guess then the question is, if they don't pay, what in heck are we paying MMIA for?
That's why we have Sky.
All right.
Yeah.
We send our bulldog after
Yeah,
him.
I like writing those kinds of letters.
Yeah, I'm sure that some of this is just an oversight and it's just the way things have happened. You know, our roofer we had is
He just didn't
disappeared,
come
and,
back.
you know, I don't know whatever happened to him.
yeah,
He made
5
me-
stars.
Unless, Wasn't we with a contract with him to inspect our roof as part of the, remember when we put this new roof on the building? We had an extended contract for a life, for a 25-year warranty, whatever the warranty issue was, but he had to come inspect. Is he doing the inspection? Are we still mailing him the $250 a year check or whatever the thing was?
Oh, I hope.
You remember that? We had a contract with him, he was supposed to come inspect it. And if we hired him to inspect it, the company that made the roofing on our building was going to give us a free replacement of materials, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but we did include his inspection to come keep up the warranty was for the thermal shield or whatever they called that rolled stuff they put on there.
I'll look into it.
And maybe we need to look at it and see where,
Well, yeah, if he's not gonna come and inspect it. there's no
Yeah, I haven't
sense in
seen it.
paying
I
him
haven't.
for it.
and I don't know if.
What reason did they give for backing out on the first, or did,
He, last time, it's probably this spring, and talking about a bid for the roof. He was gonna get back to me, and talked to him about 3 times, he's always on the road, and I just never got back. He never got back to me.
because I thought they submitted a bid, and
The original one, and asked for an update. Just never got the update from him.
Any other
call for the question.
questions been already called for? So, okay, all in favor of accepting the bid to fix the one roof on our shop? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll call Sis and tell her where to go.
That kind of concludes my report, unless there's any questions. We are still hoping to get some bids to do something with our sidewalk out front. I don't know how many of that's coming, so hopefully we'll get something back.
Raymond, what happened to our computers for the council?
I don't know, Harper has said no to them, and I don't know, are they in the budget to buy?
We already approved to buy them out of the budget.
Okay, well then I guess we will ask Mr. Hazelbaker to order them.
Yeah, that's fine.
If they're in the budget and approved.
Yeah.
I didn't know if.
The only thing that we're waiting for was Microsoft 365 bid.
Yes.
Right, and I don't know whatever happened with that. That was kind of a funny thing, because you remember in that bid that we got, it was gonna be like $500 a month or something, or I don't remember what it was, and I thought that was kind of funny, and I don't know what the whole bid is. I know my Microsoft 365 cost me $99.99 a year.
Yeah.
And that's for 5 computers.
Right.
So I don't know why it was such a high thing.
It was up to 25 devices.
Yeah, it was still $500 a year, I could see, but $500 a month I thought was kind of high.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if that was a typo or, and I don't know, everything's kind of got dropped on that because, so I don't know. Maybe.
I believe City Hall is spearheading that, that's why I asked.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I thought we was all ready to do it, but it just, nobody seems to be too interested in it, I guess.
Well, we need to get that done so we get the city business off our personal computers.
Okay, well then, we'll ask Mr. Hazelbaker to place the order then and investigate what's the best deal we can get for 365, because like I said, to me, $100 a year for 5 computers, I could see $200 a year.
Supposedly that was a higher price for the government. It like had added security. This is what you guys discussed at one of your meetings.
I don't know, do we need that?
I don't, that might have been at an ARPA committee meeting that it was discussed, but that's
Yes.
why it was so high.
Okay. but
Because we
that's
looked at
still-
the initial fee and then we asked going forward, do y'all have the money year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5?
See, and I don't know if we need, I mean, it's not like we're doing classified information on our computers.
Well, you're actually doing more than you think you are. I had a chance to spend time with the cyber guy up there at Kalispell. He's actually a division of the Homeland Security. He's based in Helena. Once we get our website up and running, he'll come down and do some debugging for us and find the weak spots. Because all he has to do is break into one of our computers, and he's got everybody's password, he's got everybody's personal information. your social security number, your bank accounts, your insurance accounts, everything. And they actually demonstrated it. It was interesting, there might only being two of us there, but he was rattling through that stuff, and it made the hair on the back of your neck stand up, the stuff he could pull off of that. And it only took one break-in and just one computer to do it. So I think the security issue is important, especially for the cities, because we have all the information there on the water, for example. That needs to be protected. That's private information, that's not public information. There's also our finances in there. We don't want anybody dipping into our finances without our approval. So it's going to be important once we get the website up and going, we call him, ask him to come on down and look things over.
So that being said, Mr. Graham, City Hall, are they gonna collect the old ones and strip them and reuse them?
I don't think there's any usable parts.
I have no idea what the old ones are. I turned mine in a long time ago.
I've got one at my house yet.
Do you?
Got mine
Okay.
somewhere.
Somewhere, somewhere.
Yeah, I turned mine in. I think there's a whole bunch of those questions, Dawn, that need to be answered, and we actually need a network or person here to answer those questions, because I too spent a couple hours with that security guy.
It wasn't the same one, in the same affair that I was in. Same meeting. Because there's only two of us, and you weren't the other one. So it must have been one of the other suppliers.
Okay, but we talked about the effect of us taking, each of us taking a lap or a small computer home and hooking it into our own Wi-Fi system, and what the kind of security barriers that you have to have for that. So it isn't just a little matter of going ahead and ordering the computers and then assuming that all of our private information as well as the city's private information are protected.
If in doubt, never use your own Wi-Fi without a VOP.
Are you talking about utilizing a VPN?
No, I'm sorry, VPN, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's one idea.
Okay, we'll
Anyway.
send that to the City Hall Committee,
Yes, please.
and worry about that after we get them ordered and going.
Yep.
Okay, any others?
That's it.
Okay. Street and Alley Committee.
Before you have the minutes of September 27th and October 3rd. Ask for approval.
Move to approve?
Second.
Been moved by Diane, seconded by Russ, to approve the minutes of the Street and Alley Committee.
I just want to say thank you for the committee allowing the meeting to be at 3 o'clock on Monday.
We need it to be 3 o'clock next Monday.
Please and thank you.
There's two back-to-back meetings, I'm gonna have to miss one. Let's go to.
So, on the September 27th, item number 2, Eric's name is spelled without the, it's spelled Winland. I mean, it's spelled two different ways in the title and in the article.
Yep, I got that.
Okay,
Way ahead.
good job.
So if the fill is limited to $30,000, but it's been estimated at $130,000, how is that difference going to be taken up?
That was something Sky was going to look into for us.
Yeah, and it was an they were authorized for 30,000, not that the anticipated cost was gonna be 30,000.
It was in our West Side agreement with
Yes, that it would, that there was an authorization for 30,000, but with the understanding that there's probably gonna be more. That's my understanding, that it was, yeah, an authorization for 30,000, and if it was gonna be more, you had to ask for it.
I think if I remember right, it was authorized for 30,000, that was with our city crew doing the work.
Right.
Correct.
And he's gone ahead because of time and stuff and did it, and this is what his bill is.
But see, I thought our understanding was, if we was gonna go down there and pour gravel on and make a gravel road. Now he wants us to pay to make it a paved road.
No, I think it's just the gravel. I mean,
Just
it's,
gravel.
Right,
that's
but
where it's at
there's
now.
about $100,000 difference in what it costs to make a gravel road and what it costs to make a paved road.
Well, I think this cost is for the gravel road that's in.
No, because we would not have dug 2 foot deep and built it back up. A gravel road can be down there, we could have went down there and throw gravel on top and followed the road, and that's kind of what we discussed at the council. That we wasn't gonna, we were going down there and grade it, we was gonna throw gravel down there and grade it.
Put, yeah, graded, put
We
gravel
weren't
on
gonna
it.
dig down 2 feet for a gravel road. If he wanted to put a paved road in, that was gonna be his dollar, not ours. And that was the reason we put the $30,000 limit on it, because that was all we were gonna spend.
Yeah, I wasn't here, so.
No, I know, but that's, to my understanding, that's what I thought we was doing.
Yeah, that was my understanding too, Raymond. I fear that when the agreement was drawn up, the wording was not properly put on there to protect us.
Correct.
So are you saying that you believe that now the city will have $100,000 bill that we did
Yes.
not anticipate?
Probably more than that,
The work's already been,
but we gotta figure out how we're gonna handle it yet.
I'll say that was one of the problems. I didn't like the idea of making an agreement with him when he did it.
I think that we need to,
Yeah, we do.
well, nobody's asking to approve that, paying out that $100,000. Because my
Luckily.
memory
nobody's-
of this, Mr. Jones, is that I remember saying at that meeting, our city crews do not know how to build roads.
Mhm.
They just don't, they have other skill sets.
Mhm.
And we knew that we weren't going to be building roads that were capable of then evolving into paved roads.
Mhm.
They were just gonna be a little bit better than a goat path. And we knew that. So there wasn't any expectation on our part, on the city's part, to build roads that could be
Upgrade.
then upgraded
Okay.
into a paved. And Mr. Wendland knew that too.
Mhm.
I mean, we all were on that same page.
Yeah, I can't speak for any of it myself, because
Yeah, I hate for us to, once again, roll over and pay bills that we didn't anticipate. Or pay bills that we specifically decided we were not going to pay.
Well, don't we just need to go back and look at that agreement?
I have that agreement right on the desk.
Anyway, I believe Streets and Alleys is still gonna massage that a bit yet.
I'll be happy to take a look at that for you guys too. If y'all give me a copy of it. Thank you.
Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to approve the minutes of the Street and Alley Committee for September 27th and October 3rd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Minutes been approved unanimously.
We have a meeting Monday at 3 o'clock.
4, probably.
Okay.
The water will be at 3. We have 2 meetings, water and sewer and street and alley.
so I has to make excuse for the latter one.
No.
I'll send it to your.
Okay, any other comments for our street and alley? On to water and sewer committee.
Okay, before you have the October 26th meeting minutes. Ask for your acceptance.
Move to approve.
24?
24th to 26th.
Well, the minutes say 24, the agenda says 26. Can we average those at 25?
It had to be 24. 'Cause Halloween
Monday was the 24th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it Easter, Halloween.
24th.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Water and Sewer Committee minutes for October 24th.
Move to approve.
Been moved
Oh.
already.
We already did it.
Oh, okay. Call for the question, the meeting's going too long here.
Is that?
I didn't catch who made the motion.
Russ approved, Diane seconded.
I call for the question.
Question's been called for to accept the minutes of the Water and Sewer Committee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Minutes been approved unanimously.
Okay, the second action item is the little spreadsheet you've got there. Thus discuss and/or approve the WWTP drying beds matching money. Now, if my memory serves me right, that fund dried up, didn't it, Mr. Mayor?
What's that?
The other funds we had to match. That, did you say the county's ARPA monies were used?
Yeah, the county gave us,
Oh, the county
yeah,
did.
we already got
Here, take.
the $276,400 from the county. We have to match that.
Correct.
To further the thing down the road, have the state approved.
Okay.
On our side, it's 281.
283.
So where is the 281,993, where is that coming?
It's gonna come out of the sewer reserve replacement and depreciation account for capital improvements. Right now, it's already budgeted in there for 241,000 something, so we'd have to do a budget amendment for an extra $40,000 at the end. But this is going to go, the state will probably not approve it until the first of the year. So right now, it's, if we approve it, then Water and Sewer Committee, we're going to get to who we want to hire for an engineer. Monday, the next council meeting, we'll find out who we're going to hire, and they'll start drawing plans up. If everything goes right, we should have drying beds, they say, at the latest August. But that's with DEQ taking 3 months to approve plans. We can push them, say it's an emergency. They think they can get them approved in a month, so hopefully we'll have a new set of drying beds if everything goes right by June. So we can dry twice as much food this year and last year.
Yeah. Now, one thing we ought to consider too is when we hire the engineering firm, they ought to look at the current technology. This drying bed technology is old stuff. You know, we've known for years in the mining industry, you can dry things a lot quicker using a cage dryer, for example. And that's real old technology too. And that was used up in Anaconda for drying out copper commons for a long time. It's just a big wheel with a screen around it and you put a vacuum on the inside. That's all it is. And something like that may work better than what we're trying to do here, plus eliminate the smells. So we kill two birds with one stone. We still have a smell issue out there, and then you're just using the same technology that we used to begin with when we started the sewer plant, and it may be obsolete. I don't know. But that would be something we should get an engineer that's familiar with the wastewater treatment and have them look at that and say, okay, is there a better way we can do it for the same money?
Correct.
And it sounds like we may have the time to do that rather than put in the drying beds.
Right.
As long as it's
But
not the
maybe,
same one that
could
did
we,
this.
That's
not
right. Mary's
choose
out of
dowel?
luck. I'm sorry, Mary Jo?
Could we maybe not choose dowel?
Right, that's a lot.
Yeah. We'll have to put out a call for engineering because we're well over the $80,000.
Yes, we have to get 3 bids.
Yeah. Well, we have to hire an engineer, you don't get them to bid that way. The engineers, you hire them, if you don't like the first guy, you go to the second guy, but you never go back to the first guy again.
But I think we should look at our options so we're not
Yes.
screwed over like we were with Idaho Street.
I agree. So that'll be coming too. This just kind of locks up the money, so we've got a piggy bank to pull out of, for lack of a better term.
And how long have we got before we can have to spend that money? Is there a time limit on the
allocation of ARPA money is till 2024. It's a matter of spending it.
2026 to spend it.
2026 to spend it, so we don't have to rush.
No, but if we can get this figured out so in the springtime they can start doing whatever, that would be wonderful. So then I'll call for the question, unless there's other questions.
No, not on that, no.
Okay.
Another question, but we'll go to this first.
Okay, question's been called for to approve the matching funds for our water treatment plant. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Okay, it passes unanimously. Any other?
Our question involves the lift station.
That probably come under the next section,
Yeah.
unless you want to put it under this one, that's fine.
The next section.
Significant public comment.
Oh, well, if it's in,
Oh,
Okay, oh, sorry, yep, go
it's
ahead.
in your minutes, so whatever happened to the trailer park gonna give the lift station people money and they were gonna pay to rebuild the lift station and donate it to the city?
That was the understanding. I believe Mr. Swenson has some of Mr. King's money, or all of it was agreed upon. However, he has not fixed the lift station to the best of my knowledge.
Right.
Mr. Hayes-Becker, do you have something better to add?
We're meeting tomorrow morning with WET to get their report on how to proceed with doing the upgrade. Again, something that needs to be remembered is that is a private
Right.
lift station. But tomorrow we're meeting with them to see what direction WET's looking at going with and present that, I guess, with
Is
Mr.
that gonna
Swenson.
be something that the lift station people are gonna do, or are they gonna be involved in this meeting with Wes?
Again, that's a private,
Right,
so
okay.
we have invited to this meeting with Mr. with WET, who represents
Oh,
Swenson.
okay.
So,
Okay, so we're the invited people there.
We're the invited
Okay.
people,
I thought we were doing it, that's why I asked.
No.
Okay.
because it's again,
Yeah, I know it's private.
yeah, I know, but there are people who have a hard time understanding that
Okay,
concept.
no, I know it's private, yes. I know the city's been stuck paying the bill on some of that.
And then involving us because they're aware of the possibility of it being transferred to us.
Okay,
So that's why we're,
so we might still be in, they're gonna repair it stage.
yes, yeah, and we're just looking at it to see.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
so, Mr. Baker, have we determined act ownership of the lift station? There was a question at the meeting.
Can we
No,
flush?
So we don't know who owns the lift station?
at this point, and it's where Ron Swenson is taking, correctly or not, ownership of it.
It
And
doesn't belong to the Sinclairs, huh?
Not anymore.
No, or the mountains, no.
Mm-mm.
Ron Johnson has said that he has some interest in it,
Yeah.
but
When you ask them tomorrow, ask them if they transfer that to the city after they repair it, can we use it where it's at, or do we have to move it out of the floodplain?
okay, my understanding is that privately fixed, updated, it can stay where it's at.
Okay, very good.
If the city takes ownership and then we do the
Repairs,
repair,
then it's
Then
gotta
there-
move.
we'll have to go through DEQ, and I could, yeah, I'm sure, I would bet DEQ would ask us to move it. But not ask us, tell us we
Tell
can
us.
move it.
Does that answer your question, Raymond?
It does.
Okay, any others? And then moving on, public comment of items of significant public interest not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the city.
For clarification purposes for me, what meetings do we have Monday afternoon?
Street and alley.
Streets and alleys.
Water and sewer.
Okay.
And also, I forgot to do this during the library report, but Saturday night is the mystery dinner for the library at the college. There's still tickets available if anybody would like to go.
Where do we get those tickets?
Debbie has some at the bookstore, and probably the library has them.
Under our last item, I just wanted to let people know that our colleague, Joe Brandon, is quite ill and in the hospital in Idaho Falls. And so his family has said that all cards would be welcome. And they would just be addressed to the hospital, to Joe Brandon, care of the ICU. And then the other question I had is that, is it possible in the future to have our documents for the packets printed on both sides? So that we are not using...
Stacy always printed them on both
It
sides.
saves paper.
Yeah, I would prefer mine single-sided, thank you. I just detest flipping it when you got something on this side and something on this side.
Okay, well.
Absolutely detest it.
Figure
Can I
it
have mine in color?
out. Take a vote, put it on the agenda, the single-sided agenda.
And then one other final thing, I received an email this morning from Tiffany Lyden from DNRC concerning the flood map, the project. It's probably be at least another 8 months
Oh, jeez.
until or more until our new floodplain maps are approved.
And I'll take the final note. I just got to say thank you to the festivities Saturday downtown on Idaho Street. The downtown merchants did an amazing job, but I got to say collectively to have organizations in the county and everyone that attended that, and from the parents' perspective, cha-ching, cha-ching, they enjoyed it. Their kids came back with candy, goodies, and I just want to say thank you all for doing that.
Yeah,
Thank you. Rebecca Jones at the Chamber deserves so much of that recognition, but also a big thank you to the Rotary, the Kiwanis, Dillon Merchants. A lot of people rallied behind it this year, and it was great.
That's why you truly went
Thank you.
beyond the boundary, so thank you for that inclusion.
No, appreciate that.
Move to adjourn.
Second.